Politics. Listeners and viewers, guys, welcome to a unique show, a live show called Point of View POV, where Will and I are going to discuss some current events and talk about our own points of view. And this is a very somber episode, and just, warning, trigger warning, all of those things. This is deep, the stuff we're going to be talking about. It's hard, it can be difficult. And so just know that. But I do want to say, guys, that we've reached 5,000 subscribers. Before we get into that, let's start here and then,
Yeah,
get
good.
into
Good.
heavier
Yeah,
stuff.
fine. Mhm.
But hey, sorry, I should say this. This is Josh Bertram, of course. I am your faithful host, Pastor Josh Bertram. And this is Will. Good to see you, Will.
Yeah. This is
No
weird.
Nintendo. I really like that shirt, by the way.
I
I
don't,
think that's the first time I've seen you wear that.
I don't understand. Well, yeah. I mean, this is a special occasion, and I was like, we don't do enough of these live feeds. And I thought I'd dust off one of my older shirts. And in case anybody's wondering about the whole T-shirt thing, like I have probably close to 300 different T-shirts. And
Well, I've seen you wear probably 150 of them.
I can maybe fit into like a third of them. So yeah, this
And it
happens to
must
be
be
the
like
one.
100 of them. That's
Yeah,
funny.
this is the one that works. But hey, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, I'm Will, the political host. But
No worries.
I wanted to just say on the top, hi to my kids, Jericho and Ronan, if you're watching this, because they were really, really excited that their daddy, number one, has a YouTube channel. Although,
I thought it would make me cooler. I'll be
yeah.
honest.
Well, here's the thing. Like all of the people that they follow on YouTube they've got like millions of subscribers. They've got like they like know their backstory. Like I found out about the Mr. Beast trans thing like from Jericho.
Wow.
I don't even knew that was a thing, but yeah, it was something. So there
That's
you go.
wild, man.
So hi
Well,
kid.
yes. Hello, Jericho. Hello, Ronan. I'm sorry. I just said their names. Did you say their name?
I
You
said
did,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Gosh. I was like, uh-oh. I just like had one of those moments like, and hello to my kids. I love you as well. And guys, thanks for joining us here, man. It's going to be cool episode. We're going to get moving here more into the meat of what we have tonight. But we did get 5,000 subscribers. It's a big deal. We're excited. We're excited about the future. Will and I, we're raking in the millions with this podcast. And so, man, it's just like,
So much money.
but man, if we could just, have you share this, man, have you, if you get value from it, share it with others, help others know what's going on, because we truly want to get to the truth here as best as we can. We're very imperfect at it. And I will be the first to admit that I'm very imperfect at it. And, we've had some criticism that we will address actually later. But we want to get to the truth here, and we want to love people and treat them with as much respect as we can. And with that, in that segue of like wanting to be a part of the solution and not the problem, hello, a
Mhm.
part of being people that will speak truth and pursue that and actively pursue that, encourage others to do it in the public domain as well as in private. I want to talk about what we're going to do on this episode. Is that cool, Will?
Yeah, it's frozen.
It's frozen. It's cool. It's frozen. I was like, dude, is it frozen? But you were actually saying, so that was crazy. All right. So I'll let it go. Ha ha ha. Get it. Boom. See, I got you going. So why are we doing this now? Well, obviously, we know that on September 10th, there was an assassination of Charlie Kirk. He is a high profile conservative, a high profile conservative um, uh, why am I losing the word? I know why I'm losing the word, because my son just ran in after I asked him, "Hey, I'm going to be on a live thing. Please don't do that." He literally ran in and is using the bathroom in the background. So,
We
Will, could you explain who Charlie Kirk is, please?
yes, yeah. So Charlie Kirk is a pretty significant figure in the far right circles and maybe just conservative circles in general. He's been on the scene for quite a while. He's got a lot of views that probably run contrary to my own views, but that's not really even all that important. He was just a human being, a person that had a family. He was a person that had a viewpoint that was different.
Yes.
But his viewpoint being different doesn't make him an
Different
enemy.
than yours.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, like I don't choose my enemies by what they think, because if that were the case, like I would have no friends. like like people often say, well, if you ever had a chance to interview Charlie Kirk, or if you ever had a chance to interview Trump, like would you? And I don't know if I would. And that's not a slight, because I'm offended by him. It's probably more because like he's a gifted speaker. And like he does this full time. Like this is his full-time job. He's good at it. And he's inspired a lot of people. And after his assassination, he leaves behind like a young wife. He's got like 2 kids, like 1 and 3. One of them had a birthday in August, just last month. And you just think about that, and you can't help but just, I mean, for me anyways, like you just can't help but sympathize for that family and for that loss. And
it's awful.
And I totally get why like there's pain. I get why there's like some people may even be celebrating. I don't share that. But it's also like I don't know enough about Charlie Kirk to really hold negative views that are so extreme that I celebrate his death. Like that's not where I'm at. I mean, but I'm just thinking like, okay, like, well, who would that person be? Like I'd really have to think about it.
Yeah.
And there is this whole sort of like thing where conspiracy, oh, Trump died, or something like that. Like I did not want to be a part of that, because I just did not think that was a healthy thing to be celebrating. And I had friends like text me and be like, oh, well, what if he is, and I'm just like, I don't think that would be great for the country.
No.
I don't think it would be good for just our own humanity. So
it'd be awful.
Yeah. So that's the Charlie Kirk thing. And I'll let you go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, we felt like we needed to talk about this because our show is about understanding and speaking and bringing out arguments and really trying to get to the truth. And I do think that my assessment of Charlie Kirk was that he was a man that did want to find the truth and did believe. He had his way of doing that, and I know that was controversial. But I think the broader issues are interesting, and that's really not the word for it. That's just the word that came to my mind. Interesting, horrifying. The broader ideas of just political violence. And I think so. What we want to do for just a few minutes as we're processing this, and then it's kind of going off on rabbit trails as they come up if needed. But we want to talk about what happened in Utah, and I'm going to kind of walk through that day just in case anyone is here and they don't really know, just so we're working on the same, sets of facts and assumptions and that. And then we want to talk about the wider trend line of political violence, because this is an awful event, and it's a reflection right now, it seems, of our wider culture, and that's very concerning. And we want to talk about that. We're going to talk about, like, I want to talk as a Christian and kind of process a little back and forth of like a theology or an idea of how do we de-escalate, and what is a Christian supposed to do? I think that's important. And then maybe are there any practical like guardrails we can think of, and then we really want to hit how our own show tries to resist partisanship and how we may fail that at times. And so we want to kind of process, be really honest about that, because we've had some criticism about it and we appreciate it and appreciate the feedback. And we want to take it and use it as much as we can. And if we just, depending on time, we might not get to the theology of de-escalation and all that. We might just go to the partisanship issue because we don't want to go for too long. We'll try to aim for like 60 minutes around there. All right. Unless it's really good and juicy, and then we'll keep it going. What do you think? Any thoughts on that, Will?
Yeah, nope, no thoughts. Just a reminder, if you're watching us on YouTube, we're not really monitoring the YouTube chats. But if you are logged in, what's that? Well, yeah,
it'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice. You can, if you're on Riverside, you can use the chat. It should be open. Like I said, just be patient with us as we're trying to figure this out. But I think it's working. So yeah, if you want to engage,
as the youths say, we're noobs at this live thing. So
it's true.
Be patient with us. So okay, here's what we know about what happened with Charlie Kirk. He was at an outdoor Q&A event, and he was at the University, and now I've lost it. It was the University of Utah, and I can look it up. But here's what he was giving he was starting a new tour, and he was giving one of his open mic campaigns where they go and they're kind of, arguing back and forth. They open up the mic, they come, and they have a dialogue about it. And so he was in the middle of doing that. And it looks like there's a suspect that arrived at the campus. They got into position. The event was scheduled to begin in the UVU courtyard at like 12 p.m. And right at 12:20, just like 20 minutes after this thing started, there was a single shot shortly after noon, I guess, at 12:20. So we see shortly after noon, rather, there was a single shot that was made. And at 12:23, they already had video synchronized time of the shot. We see the crowd scattering. It was a crazy move. It was a crazy video. It was really awful. There's like this video of a rooftop figure that is seen fleeing across. I guess it's called the Lucy Center, Lossee Center. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that incorrect. And then we see another video. I guess there's a surveillance video of him jumping from the roof and then running away into a wooded area. They have audio that we have come in of them describing this person. And they start this search area, and we have President Trump announcing on Truth Social that Charlie Kirk had died at 2:40 p.m. And then the next day, or Thursday, September 11th, they're continuing to go. Right, investigators, they confirm the recovery of a high-powered bolt-action rifle believed that was used in the attack. They released photos and video of a person of interest, and they get over right around 7,000 tips and 200 interviews. Think about that, dude. Within like 24, I mean, this is September 11th. That's yesterday, dude. Mm-hmm. 7,000 tips and 200 interviews. Mm-hmm. The amount of manpower that was required. FBI is posting that day about photos of a person of interest. They're offering $100,000 reward. And then they're getting clear images of the subject last night. Rooftop jump videos released. They're showing, noting palm, forearm, shoe prints, all this stuff. And then at 10 p.m., Mountain Time. Sorry, on Thursday, Director Patel, Cash Patel, says a suspect was taken into custody Thursday night at 10 p.m. local time. That's what we found out today. On Fox and Friends, President Trump says a suspect is in custody. And now they've booked him and they've given him charges. Robinson is his name. Tyler Robinson, age 22, says arrested. Officials say he acted alone, pending further investigation. Booking and charges. Robinson is held without bail, facing aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstruction of justice.
Why are you yelling?
I don't know. I felt like it was just like an intense thing. I don't know. I feel so intense.
Like there needs to be a Christian rage.
Oh, so here's notes on discrepancies. Here was some interesting things though, like that we don't know. And here's what I think that maybe we could talk about a little bit here, like what we don't know yet and what we need to be careful about, because I think this is very important, is we don't know the exact motives of this person. We have, right, things written on some bullets, like I think Bella Ciao, we said, was one of them, hello fascists, and then there's another one that was just kind of like, if you read this, you're gay or something like that.
Mhm.
I don't understand. These were just the inscriptions that were put on these bullet casings, and they found those. We know that his parents, apparently, from what we understand, it was a Republican family, a family that seemed, at least from initial reports, to be like a Trump supporting family. For him, some of the stuff I saw was that he had he was starting to have disagreements, and there's even like reports of his, like with his family, some disagreements about Charlie Kirk and his viewpoints, and he didn't like his viewpoints. And then there was like apparently an argument. Now again, that might be proved wrong. This is just some of the stuff I saw. An argument where they said like about Charlie Kirk and his viewpoints. Why am I saying all this? To try to establish just the plane, so that we're not like jumping to conclusions. And I think it's super important also. Like I was able to do this all, like researching this, looking this through, ChatGPT, through Claude, through use of these powerful tools. And anyone can get free, right? By the way, we're not being supported or sponsored by ChatGPT or anyone.
Endorsement dealing you tell me about?
Why am I telling you this? Because you can ask the right prompts, and you can try to figure this stuff out, asking for primary sources, asking it to double check for accurate information, making sure that you get the most relevant information. Gemini is fine. Any of those things, right? It's how you're approaching it. We're trying to show you how, like, hey, let's reason this through instead of jumping to conclusions and just starting with, this is an absolute tragedy. And I've said this to you like several times before we get into anything else. Like, the people that are losing right now, it seems to me, are the Kirk family, and they've been devastated. And people are going to use this, and they're going to take it and use it for their own purposes. And I mean, heck, we're having a podcast about it. I'm not even saying that judgmentally. Like this is part of our fabric right now in America. But it seems to me, man, like this should be a wake up call. And how we respond right now is key. This is a pivotal moment in my sense. I don't know what your thoughts are. Before we kind of move on into more like political violence in general.
Yeah.
No, move on from this too quickly.
I want
to make some reflections.
I want to just say one thing, that if you're listening to this for the first time, or you're listening to this live, that the like you had made a comment about tying the shooter to Trump. If you haven't been reading the news in like the past hour or so, there's been quite a few reports or whatever come out. So I'm just going to read you just a quick section from this article that is from Julie Roys. She writes, Robinson's grandmother, Debbie Robinson, 69, told the Daily Mail that Tyler Robinson was also raised in a staunchly Republican home. My son, his dad, is a Republican for Trump, Debbie Robinson said. So like these are, you know, words from family members to a conservative outlet. So this isn't just Josh or I sort of, you know, talking before the show, pontificating about like who we're going to place the blame on. Still, it's the guy that pulled the trigger. It's his fault, not Trump's fault. It's not, you know, the university's fault. It's not anybody's fault. It's the shooter's fault. And I think the sad thing about like the moment we're in, you know, like it pains me is that like I knew exactly what was going to happen as soon as Charlie Kirk was murdered. Like it just hit me. It's weird. It's like, you know, like when other like politicians like have passed or whatever, you know, like it normally doesn't phase me. But for some reason, when Charlie Kirk died, I don't know, it impacted me a certain way I don't think I expected, because like
Yeah.
just the world, I guess, or the you know, universe that this podcast swims in, like we intersect with the world of Charlie Kirk quite a bit. We haven't done any episodes explicitly about Charlie Kirk, but we've done episodes adjacent to sort of like the institutions and sort of the things that he believes in. So when he died, like I said, it just hit me. So I posted something on Facebook really quick because I'm an old person, so I still use Facebook. And it was like, you know, I was just giving my heart, like my heart goes out to the Kirk family. You know, I mentioned that I didn't really even know anything about his family life, but I took a moment to like, to learn about him, because everything I've heard about him up to this point has been sort of painted with a very negative lens, and a lens that would probably be in alignment with like my own viewpoints, to be honest with you. So I wanted to actually like see him as a person. So I looked up, yeah, I mean, his wife, you know, going to School of Liberty for Bible study, you know, and his 2 kids. And so I posted something online about him. But then I also said, I predicted exactly what was going to happen. I said, the right is going to start blaming Democrats for being violent, and like the left, there will be people that will like be celebrating. and it was just like incredibly sad that all of that came true.
Exactly what happened. Yeah.
And it's still happening even today.
And we're only 2 days from it. I mean, it's just going to be the ramifications are going to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so we want to like think about the broader implications of political violence, because there's I just want to respond to a couple of things that you said, because on the one hand, like you know, we are trying to on the show promote an environment where we can look for facts and evidence, we can look at other viewpoints. And some people, like, I can already anticipate even the mocking laugh of like facts and evidence, like you guys, you know. So it's like, and I know that that's hard because we all have even our own views of what facts and evidence even are, which is wild again to me. But I think what that shows me is more than ever, we have to have open dialogue to really get past like we have to remove the view of other people as like the demonization of other people. And this is what's happening right now. It continues to happen. It will continue to happen, whether it's they're fascist and it's thrown around of anyone that's conservative is a fascist, or if anyone is a liberal is a communist, or is wanting to a socialist, or wanting to, you know, or violent now. And I think that we have to try to address this as best as we can. with facts and with the tools and with the things that we have and with data, and ask, where are we getting this from? Um, and so I think like in this next section, like when we're giving some of our reflections, there's going to be a sense of like, um, I don't know if it's going to feel insensitive or not. Like that's certainly not like our intention. And it's hard with such a public thing like this, with like he's a father and everything. But again, it's not, our heart is just broken for them. And now it's thinking about the ramifications and doing like our part and like, hey, how can we help people navigate through this? And one of the things we thought about was that there has been this sense of celebratory, like this celebration of death. And I don't think it's a left or right problem, although I do think there are manifestations at certain times and in different ways of how much it shows up. And we can talk about that a little bit, what I mean by that. But it's like, so one thing we talked about earlier was Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, one thing I want to be really clear about from my perspective is that the two situations and the way in which they are similar, what connects them in any way, is that they're major figures that are considered political. I understand Charlie Kirk wasn't an elected official or anything like that, but he was very involved in politics, especially through the 501c4 that they had, TP Action, and all of that. Right? It was all part of it. But I think that like we have to like see that we have, not only can we look at the comparisons but also the contrasts. What are the similarities? Well, I think the main similarity is that two people that were essentially their deaths were celebrated, even though they were very different in context, very different, and that needs to be acknowledged. And whatever implications from that, people were celebrating deaths of people because of their viewpoints, because of their that's how I see it. And you can respond to that well, but it's like because of an ideology that they had. Ruth Bader Ginsburg was not like a bad person, right? She didn't hurt people like that I know of, or like kill people, or like she didn't poison people, like and same with Charlie Kirk. So it's like, okay, but they had an ideology and they had things that were reprehensible to their opponents, and so what we have this like in the case. So you can kind of explain, because I'm going to be out of my depth on what happened on the right with Ginsburg, because I honestly wasn't looking at a lot of different like reels about that. But what is the connection in your mind?
Yeah. So I mean, one of the first things that you saw when Charlie Kirk died, aside from just Democrats are violent, um, and other like other Democrats celebrating his death, you also saw kind of a response of a which you see this every single you see a whataboutism kind of explode. So there was a concerted effort to kind of bring Melissa Hartman's, if you don't, she was the House Minority Leader, if I recall, in Minnesota. She was murdered, her and her husband, gruesome way. So you see people looking at like her murder, and then they say, okay, what are all the different reactions of her murder? What were all the different accolades and media reaction, blah 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 blah, to her murder? And then they look at what happened to Charlie Kirk, and they're like, what the heck? Like nobody was really doing all this for her. And I get that, because like you look at these two deaths, two humans, two families are affected, and you say that that's not right. And I'm probably not going to be the best person to argue fairness in this situation, because Charlie Kirk is just this huge person that has sort of made a name for himself. And that's not to say that the killed state representative wasn't important. I'm not trying to say that at all. Um, but in my mind, I think that the better comparison, if we're looking at just sort of like larger than life figures, could be somebody like, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, could be somebody like John Lewis, could be somebody like, in this case, this would probably be more applicable, like a Paul Pelosi, like, or even more recent, Trump getting shot. So like if you're listening to this or you're watching this, like as I was saying those names, um, there was probably like a little part in the back of your head that was either rejoicing or was reliving maybe some sadness, and and that's like that's normal. That's normal. so when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, um, the responses were what you would expect, kind of like with what happened to Charlie Kirk. Um, the normal sort of like prominent politicians responded the way you would expect them to respond. Yeah, very unfortunate, sucks, so on and so forth. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, same thing. You have Mitt Romney and Mitch McConnell and all sorts of folks that were talking about that. But then you had folks that were on the very far right saying or talking about her, rulings on abortion cases, or other sort of like cases that have really had significant impact on people's lives, and we're praising that her death occurred. And actually, I think the thing I read said like this person was praying for there to be payment on the blood spilled by RBG or what have you, which is terrible. It's a terrible thing to say. But you can kind of see that the exact mirror opposite with the Charlie Kirk thing, and it's just like why? I mean, number one, like what I will say about the Charlie Kirk thing, and it doesn't have to be Charlie Kirk. It could be any other commentator, public person whose like opinions or thoughts offend me. I don't think that they should die. I don't think that their speech should be censored. I don't know. I don't know if I would be called necessarily a First Amendment absolutist, because I'm not really quite sure what that term means. But I've heard people use it. but I do actually think that people should be able to speak their mind.
I agree.
That's not to say that speaking your mind and of what you have to say, is consequence free, but I still think that everybody has a right to be heard. Wasn't a big fan of the Twitter ban when they banned Trump off of it. Not a big fan of Berkeley students rushing oh man, I'm gonna mess up his last name. You guys know who I'm talking about, Milo, right?
Yes.
when he was supposed to be speaking there, like, not a fan of that. And I'm not a fan of that for a lot of different reasons, but one of which was strengthened just recently by a book I'm reading. It's called The Coddling of the American Mind. It's an amazing book. And in it, Jonathan Haidt, he's one of the writers. Like I said, I'm on a Jonathan Haidt kick. He talks about like how healthy it is for us to be inoculated by things that we want to build defenses for, in the future. He makes some comparison using like peanut allergies. I'm not going to try to repeat the science, but basically he says, the ubiquity of peanut allergies today is tied to, parents shielding themselves from peanuts. So don't at me on that. I can't fact check that, but it sounds right. But when you take that sort of like same metaphor and apply it to like thoughts and ideas, you're going to get the folks like the Milo folks that are going to be rushed off a campus. You're going to get speakers that are going to talk about certain topics that some might perceive as being controversial. There's one example he gives in a book about a scientist, coming out with some sort of study that showed that people of color had, like, I don't know, some sort of genetic whatever disposition to be lower intelligence. And that particular scientist went to go speak on this campus, was rushed out, and actually ended up in the hospital. Um, and the thing about that is, I think that when we sort of shield ourselves from these different ideas, because I get accused of this all the time. People are
Mhm.
like, "Oh yeah, you only just like listen or watch, MSDNC or whatever," and I'm just like, "You literally don't know what my media habits are, because they're pretty extreme."
Yeah.
But I thrive on hearing different ideas, like I do, and we try to do that for the show. We really try to get ideas that are different than ours. We've been accused of spewing liberal propaganda. Um, so, I don't take much. I don't take that offensively, because I don't think that that's true. But I do want to get more liberal, or get more conservative voices on our show.
A
Um,
little Freudian slip.
this is true. I actually just want all liberals. Bring them on.
No, it's not at all. I know that that isn't true. I mean, I really appreciate what you're saying, and and all of us, man, we grieve like differently. We react to these things differently, and I think that it's going to be like super important to let people, like, just let them react the way that they want to react, and maybe also be sensitive. Right? I mean, it's a give and take thing here, and if you don't understand why someone is really upset, then maybe that can make you curious instead of confrontational. Ooh, that'll preach, by the way. And maybe it's like, yeah, bring a curiosity to it to understand what's really going on. And if you can see yourself as trying to be co-partners with someone to finding the truth, and again, if they're unwilling to do it, if you challenge them and they're unwilling to acknowledge, or they don't take those steps, or they end the conversation, then there you have it. You can't go beyond that, but we can keep dialogue open. You and I have been able to do that. And I mean, all of us, dude. I mean, I have a automatic feeling to everything that I hear, and so do you. So why can't we just allow ourselves to do that, and then ask why? And then say, how can I actually prove this? Do I actually know what I'm talking about when I say this? Because normally we don't. Like, we just don't. We get the gist of things. I think that's okay. We can let ourselves be human and actually start to look for, the truth. And I think you hit something huge, man. Where there's a sense of like whose death really bothers me and whose death am I indifferent to? And I do think that that's a very insightful and incisive question. Like when we're talking about the amount of news that's out there, and I got to be honest, I got to make a confession, dude. Like, I have not posted much about Gaza. I have not posted or about like the the horrifying things that are happening. And why am I afraid to say that? Is it in any like debate that there's horrifying things happening there?
Mm, no, I don't. I mean, I don't think there's any debate, but there
I,
are.
I don't know. I mean, you just never know. Like, oh, I can't believe you'd say that about Netanyahu. I'm
No,
like,
no, no,
I
no.
don't,
It's
I
it.
don't. It's not that I don't like Netanyahu. I don't know Netanyahu. I don't need to like him or not like him to say is what are those actions causing X, Y, or Z, and how do we know that?
Yeah, I
And
don't.
it's
I
like
don't
we're
think.
afraid of logic.
I don't think you need to like him to be able to see a picture of a dying child and say, "I don't care who did this. It needs to stop."
It needs to stop. Okay, so again, why are we saying that? Because I was way more affected, and I hate to admit this in some ways. Not that, hate to admit, I was affected deeply by what happened to Charlie Kirk, but to say that I was affected deeply by what happened to him, and I haven't really been about these like things that we've heard about on this podcast. So it's not like I'm not aware of them. There's just not the same emotional reaction, and I hate that, dude. And I don't know why.
Like when you say that you don't have the same reaction.
Not the same. Like I guess I don't see myself in them where I see myself in Charlie Kirk. Like, not that I agree with everything that Charlie Kirk did or disagree with, right? I mean, I can hold two things at the same time, or three or
Mm.
four, in terms of a person. If you can't do that, man, I would encourage you to think about that possibility, please. I can do that. There's good and bad in everyone, including me, including you, Will, including our amazing kids, right? I mean, they're people, right? So, okay, all that to say is that I I was really affected, and I think it's because, oh wait, like, yeah, he probably looks like me. And whereas what's happening in Gaza doesn't look like me.
Mhm.
I don't see myself in that context. And so I don't know if that means I'm a racist, I'm a bigot, I'm a horrible person. I've said all those things about myself.
Mm.
I don't know if it's like I'm just like, yeah, I don't know what to say.
I think it's a matter of, as humans, we are really social creatures. I wrote about that on my blog recently.
Yeah, that was
Um,
good.
and we have just this natural tendency to find community in things that are familiar. It's like an evolutionary thing. Like I'm not going to try to befriend a bobcat, because the bobcat doesn't look like me or speak like like my same language.
Hey, haven't you
Um,
ever seen Jungle Book, bro?
no.
Tell that to Mobley, dog.
uh, well, like so we did an interview today.
Mobley?
That
Mobley?
that well, not a Mowgli, but like we did an interview today that'll come out in a couple weeks of a of like it was a story of a documentary. Story of a documentary. It was a documentary which told a story about this music park in Glen Echo Park, like Maryland ish area. Um, the documentary is called gosh, ain't no back to a merry-go-round. And
Yes.
in short, it was a documentary about um, the first integrated civil rights march, protest, whatever you want to call it. And when we were talking to the director, who is a white Jewish woman, and the majority of the documentary focuses on like a white Jewish community pairing with a bunch of Howard students that were protesting because they wanted to be integrated into this new amusement park. Um, so the director mentioned today that it was like, like I had asked her a question, like, how do you make a documentary about the first integrated, civil rights action without sort of painting the white people as like white saviors? Like it just seems like it would just be a really delicate dance to portray that, especially like in this environment we're in,
Yeah.
and she answered it really, really well. You'll have to listen to it. But one of the things that she said at the end was like, when she looked at civil rights people, she didn't see anybody that looked like her. And as like a white Jewish woman, you know, like telling the stories of these other white Jewish women that were, ahead of their time, um, it gave her sort of like a sense of hope. So I say all that, not to necessarily say that you find hope in Charlie Kirk, but like you have this natural inclination to just be like, wow, like that could be me. Um, like
Yeah.
maybe you internalize it because you're like we have this podcast. I don't think we say anything too controversial, but it's like, what if I'm out there? I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think about that kind of stuff as much, but then again, the shooter, Charlie Kirk doesn't look like me. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of gets to the heart of what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I definitely appreciate your thoughts there, and I guess really what I was trying to bring out is that when it really did cause me to reflect when I posted about this, and even how quickly I posted. Like I didn't post about the thing that happened in Minnesota. Like, what was her name? You just mentioned her name.
Melissa Hartman.
Yeah, Melissa Hartman and her husband. I didn't post about that. I don't think. But I didn't post about it really, like, and make a big deal. I didn't, and they were Democrat, right? I didn't. That's correct, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so I didn't post about, I mean, I did post about Biden when he got cancer. Now, again, he didn't. I understand. Like it was just, it was a diagnosis, not they're different.
Hey, real fast, it's Melissa Hortman. I apologize. I said Hartman. I just need
No,
to look it up.
Hortman. Gotcha. Okay, so Melissa Hortman, and then excuse me. So what am I trying to get at? I'm just noticing that I posted about this and I felt compelled to in a way that I didn't feel and don't feel compelled with people that I might not readily identify with. And I guess it's just like, oh, like it's, I've done so much work and it's still there. And it's just like you have to be so diligent to look at your biases. They're everywhere.
Yeah, but I'd have to push back on that a little bit because like I would say like if you don't have a social media post or don't know about the death or whatever of every single person that a terrible thing has happened to, like
Right.
I don't think that
It's not feasible.
I don't think anybody's going to do a count of all the different posts and be like, oh well, you only posted one Republican and you posted 10 times about all of Biden's health conditions, like you must be a progressive.
Hi, man. I don't know. We'll have to get to that. Oh man. Yeah, I appreciate it, dude. I mean, it's just more like I it's a good thought exercise. And I hope that people listening will do it and actually ask and answer honestly. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to be open like I am on freaking, a podcast that people can go look at. So I know I'm the weird one that does that, but you can, do it yourself, and
Hmm.
that's okay. I did want to do something, dude. If I can I transition us? Can I move into
Yeah, I just want to say, I see you in the chat, Sandra. She was asking a question about Turning Point USA, and whether or not, like was he a Turning Point USA college student? I wasn't sure, so I didn't. Um,
the
the
assassin? I don't know.
um, the other thing she mentioned, she totally feels you on the
Yeah, I understand. It's like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. So I wanted to just take a couple minutes, dude, and just talk about political violence because I think this is super interesting, and and just so you guys know, like my method, right? So I do the deep research with the large language models, and I read through them and I look at the sources that they're quoting, and I make sure that the sources are as primary as much as they can be, meaning like they're the closest thing to the event as is plausible. And actually, dude, interestingly enough, bro, in investigating this, I had Chat GBT say no to me for the first time. It
good,
said
good on
no.
you, knowing your boundaries, Chat GPT.
It said no, I can't do that. And
Really?
then I said, yeah. And I was like, oh, blah, 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 blah. I basically asked it for an exhaustive list of everything Trump has said about this issue, of the assassination. And it's like, I can't do that.
Well,
And I'm
that's why
like,
you have to ask Grok because Grok be nasty.
I know, dude, Grok will answer any question, bro. So anyway, it might tell you that like like what is it like those white supremacists
Yeah.
like like theories and like
Yeah.
anyway, I digress, but that is about prompting too. Anyway, as well. So but I wanted to make sure that we talked about political violence and actually honestly defined it.
Hmm?
Because definitions, when they get fuzzy, that things get weird. Right? Like someone like protesting, that's political violence.
Mm.
Wait, what? No, that's First Amendment rights. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
let's not get those confused, right? So it's like, um, and here are terms like from these are influenced or from just the Department of Homeland Security.
Mm.
And so a peaceful protest, that's one of the terms they have, constitutionally protected assembly and speech, even if disruptive, even if disruptive, so long as it does not involve violence or property destruction. Example, marches, rallies, vigils. Example, we're sitting on what are the merry-go-round and we're not getting off, right? Like that is a peaceful, it was disruptive, but it wasn't destructive.
Mm.
Ooh, that'll preach right there, dude.
Mm. Yeah.
So what it's allowed, it's disruptive. You're allowed to disrupt, I guess. I don't know what the rules on that. That's a good question
Mm.
to some extent, but you're not allowed to destroy or obviously murder and inflict violence. Okay. So that's the Department of Homeland Security definition. Civil disobedience, this is deliberate nonviolent breaking of laws to highlight injustice, like sit-ins, blocking traffic, refusing compliance, often leads to a lawful arrest, but the defining factor is nonviolence and a willingness to bear the consequences of the actions, right?
Mm.
So it's exposing the corruption of a system, right? That I'm doing nothing but this, and it's so and we're going to show everyone to cause some kind of change in culture, which then leads change to politics, which leads change to legislation, things like that. Criminal violence. This is the third. So this isn't. So these are just terms. Criminal violence and political criminal violence. The use or threat of physical force to harm people or property for political ends. Includes assaults, shootings, bombings, arson, or intimidation that crosses into illegality. So we want to clarify distinctions for our listeners so that we don't lump peaceful dissent, even disruptive dissent, into violent extremism.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Do you agree? What are your thoughts? We just
I
need to be grounded in reality, I think, and not what the pundits tell us.
so just make sure I'm kind of understanding. So like when you're referring to political violence, you're using that as a separate, you're detaching that from political extremism. Am I reading that right? Or are you
I
combining?
think political violence is a part of political extremism.
Got it. So extremism is like an umbrella and violence
Yeah,
is
it's a part of it, yes.
got it.
Because violence is one part, destruction of property is another. I'm assuming some kind of like, online or virtual, attack would be another kind, right? So it's like, it's extremism is an ideology that results in these things that will go to the place of coercion,
Hmm.
right? Unlawful coercion.
We should invite somebody on to talk about definitions of political extremism.
Yes.
I was like, why are we trying to do this? Like
Well, we're just throwing our point of view out there. And again, anyone correct us, but please don't just like say it unless it's like super like logical and very like understandable and very like clear where we've gotten it wrong, like so much so that we don't need any citation. Please give us some data. Don't just please don't just give us your opinion on it, or just understand that's just your opinion. Great. Thanks for sharing. We might consider it. I don't know, like if it feels compelling enough to us. I don't know what else to say, like unless there's something backing it up. And so, I mean, the importance, right, is this is an example of we have an example of political violence, and we're thinking about what is the real question is what kind of culture do we have that is the fertile ground for this kind of violence? And when I was doing the research on this, there has been an increase in political violence since 2000, like a clear increase. And I will read it to you. And again, if any of this is wrong, please let us know, but also please share your sources so that we aren't left guessing. Does that make sense?
Nope.
It doesn't make sense. Seriously, is that you're gonna do that to me, dude?
Are you trying to do something while you are talking?
Yeah, I'm trying to find the report,
No, you
but
didn't have it. Like you should have it right there, or did it close automatically?
I must have closed on me.
Nah.
All right, it's all right. But violence has gone up essentially, clearly in the last like 20 years. Political violence, not violence, but political violence has gone up. And so the question is like, what do we, what kind of response do we have primarily online? I think is where most of us are going to be interacting with this and posting and like, what should we do? How do we work through um, how we feel, our friendships, relationships in a place where there's like, this is going to continue to happen is essentially the bottom line. I can go into more detail. We don't really have time. And maybe I can post something in the show notes of like, a PDF or something that's explaining it. But we're in a place where there's several causal things happening that are creating an environment where political violence is more likely, and it's not good. It's very concerning, and I think that the more we understand and know how to interact with it, then we can actually start being the change instead of like being fuel on the fire, like online. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh man, so many things. So I think that in the moment that we're in now, everybody would benefit by exercising just a little bit of patience and grace. Because I think that the entire country is hurting one way or another. Um, so I think that a lot of people are reacting like out of that pain, and it's not particularly like constructive. Um, and I'm I was thinking just again about like if you're familiar with the elephant and the rider metaphor, this is a good one. Like I mentioned something to Josh the other day, like, yeah, everything on social media is all elephant. Basically, elephant is sort of like your intuition, um, and sort of like the moral foundations that you find important. We won't get into moral foundations, but just the elephant is your gut feeling. And most people use social media, and they have their gut feeling right there post for them. uh, but the rider, so if you kind of think of just like the image of, you got this huge elephant, you got this little rider, the rider thinks it's in control, but the elephant is just way overpowered. The elephant allows the rider to feign control. um, so like if I think that the best way to probably describe this is, if you all have ever had an experience at work, and assuming like you have like some sort of job where you have access to a computer and can email, and you had a really bad day because somebody did something, so you wrote an email to them but you saved it in your draft folder. Like that email is basically the elephant, but your acknowledgement that you shouldn't send it basically is your draft folder. um, so I think when we think about social media, especially kind of in this environment, that we really just need to be careful of like what we post, because you're already seeing it out there. I mean, I saw something just I don't know, an hour ago before we started recording of, people doxing all these teachers and stuff that are posting stuff, which is terrible. Like teachers should not be posting this kind of stuff. Um, but they're paying the price for it. And I think that this kind of segues a little bit nicely into just the last thing we're going to talk about, and that's just um, you have to take care of your mental health through through this moment. Um, you have to, because if you don't, it's just going to drive you bonkers. And I've been trying to practice my own sort of mental health with like the politics and stuff that I consume. The first thing I did, which is like super helpful, is I deleted Twitter off my phone. I think I did that about a month ago, because I was just constantly getting those notifications about every time like it seemed our democracy was just failing. and I'd have these little like heart palpitations, and but then I just want to keep scrolling. Or if you follow like, Anna Bauer from Lawfare, and she's in court, and you're just like, what's happening, like, did she ever find out who's the director of Doge or whatever, like it's just really addicting. So I deleted that off my phone. Never been happier. um the other thing is just you got to find a hobby, and you got to get outside and just recognize that no matter what you see in the news, like, you've got time to react to it. You don't have to react to it right then. Like, that's a really fast way to get PTSD.
Yeah.
If you are constantly in this state of like, I need to react. So just recognize that you've got time. And then just the last thing, like if you pray, if you meditate, but I think it's important that you just unplug for a little while. Like I've been personally trying to practice this thing, that anytime I talk to my kids, I put my phone down. So that way, like, they have my full attention, and like 5 years from now, they're not on their phones all the time, and me like, get off your
Right.
phone. So yeah, you just got to take time for yourself. But like, what do you do, Josh, to
Yeah, I'll explain that. And then I did have one thought that I had before we close. But I am definitely praying more. I think I'm just kind of like sitting and reflecting, like I'm trying to like hang, just kind of, yeah, I guess just like sit with my kids and you know, it's in the last few days I've been like hyper focused on this, and so it's like, and then among other things. So the last 2 days haven't been the greatest example, but I mean, I spend time um definitely studying God's word, and like just trying to like reflect on myself and take a step back and like remind myself about how good things really are, and how much I truly have, how much I'm grateful, how much I have I can be grateful for. And it's been helpful, man. I mean, it really has, to just remember like my wife and my kids, and yeah, I have a house, and I have, I'm blessed, and I can reflect on that and acknowledge that, and remember that, and it always helps me feel better. And yeah, I think there's a lot of things we can do. Definitely like getting out in nature. My family and I went and did some hikes and just got on the Appalachian Trail a little bit, and went to Skyline Drive. So we were within in Richmond, close enough to Skyline Drive, and just hung out, and it was like it was amazing.
trying to practice that hillbillology?
Yeah, dude, just like, well, just getting out in nature, man. The kids loved it. So that kind of stuff is absolutely, you're right on. Um, I think the only thing, that I would want to say, because I was just thinking about back, is that again, it's super important to withhold judgment on who this like just as a prime example of how to approach something like this, to withhold judgment on the shooter's motivations. You're going to have people saying it's all about trans. You're going to have people saying he was Antifa. You're going to have people saying he was MAGA. You're going to have, whatever it is. And there's one person that knows them right now for sure. Or I guess two, in my opinion, God. So I guess that's three persons. And then the fourth is the individual who did it. And I think that we need to figure that out. And I just think we suspend judgment and ask for data every single time. Don't just assume, ask for data every single time. I'll give you a chance to respond to that. I just felt like it was in there, and I wanted to say that, and then we had moved on. So.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did, because I will tell you, on Facebook, anyways, I have had some fairly comprehensive discussions with people about stuff, and if you're watching this and you're like, I want to have comprehensive discussions with Will, just email me. It'd probably be a lot better. I do this all the time. I like emailing, just having conversation with folks. But on Facebook, it's like I intentionally keep it locked, FYI. But have been having some very, very, like I said, intense conversations. People making a lot of assumptions about who I am and what I believe and think.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that actually accused me of not being a Christian, saying that, like, oh, you haven't even posted anything about, Charlie Kirk and you're a Christian and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, like I'll accept that, if it were true, but it wasn't. And there's sort of this thing where you get into conversations with people and then they just like, they paint you with sort of the liberal brush.
Mm-hmm.
They say, oh, well, you must be happy then that Charlie Kirk is dead. And I'm like, no, like I am not.
Man, you must really think I'm like a monster, dude.
And God,
I understand.
Like God bless all my friends, that can help respond when like I'm not on Facebook. I go back and I'm like, oh, there's like 100 comments here, and like 90 of them are at least from friends saying, no, Will's actually not that bad of a guy, he's actually he's liberal, but he owns
one of the good ones.
Sometimes I cosplay as a conservative when I go to the gun range, like I like to have a cheat day.
Yeah.
I have a cheat day, a Republican cheat day,
Yeah, dude. Have a Republican cheat day.
You can have a Democrat cheat day.
Oh, there you go. Dude, I went to that conference. I already did.
You did? I did this. Yeah, to the surf conference. Yeah, you did.
I felt like I was like cheating on, I totally was like, the conservatives will hate me.
All the calories.
So, but here's what I would say though, with that. And again, I had forgotten, but I do need to say this. We've had people on more than one occasion, more than one person, basically say, hey, you're not representing both sides. Basically because I think they know Will is liberal. They're not questioning that. It's more, am I really conservative? And I acknowledge the tension there. And here's honestly my response, because even like the idea of faithful politics. When I think faithful, I think we're faithful to the scriptures and to Jesus. Now, I know you might hear that and think, oh my gosh, I can't believe you would say that. And I understand, but I promise you, I'm fully committed to the scriptures. And so when I'm much more concerned about being a follower of Jesus and being faithful and under a student of the Bible and understanding it and understanding Jesus and living a life that honors him, a biblical life, and doing my best to understand that I am not perfect, but I am doing my best to understand that. And I'm really trying to live it out. And I'm really trying to live that out in my beliefs. And I would much rather do that than be conservative. Mm-hmm. Now, I think if you lined up all the conservative beliefs, my guess is that if not all of them, in the 90%, I would be in basic agreement with. Yeah, but this principle and the method Those are two different things. Or principle and policy, whatever you want to say, whatever it is and how it's actually lived out and executed, those are different. And a good thing can be executed in a bad way, in a harmful way. Okay. So what I'm getting at is like, I think I'm conservative. I haven't moved my views. And if you don't think so, I honestly, I don't want to say I don't care, but it's probably not going to change where I'm going. Unless you can give me like, some, again, good evidence, those kinds of things, and help me understand and we can work with it together. I'm totally cool to do that. And I just think I need to say, like, faithful politics to me is about I'm being faithful. I'm trying to do the best I can to live this out and to understand and to be in a light into the people and to be Jesus to people that disagree with me at such a deep level that I would probably never talk to someone like them outside of this podcast.
Yeah. No, I mean, one of our most popular episodes was our conversation with Lucian Greaves, and you read the comments and you're just like, people really like I want to live in a world where people aren't surprised that a pastor can talk to the leader of the Satanic Temple, like where that can just be, like you guys are at a coffee shop, and he's there and he's got like his contacts and he looks, very Satan-y, and you are there with your, well, you don't have the collar thing, but like that would be an image that would.
Totally. I'm not going to be conservative. Like, I'm not going to believe something just because it's conservative. Like, why would you do that? That's literally saying, I'm not going to think about this. I'm going to let someone else do the thinking, and I'm going to let someone else make the decision, and I'm going to let someone else make the conclusion, and I'm not going to know why. It's just got a label. And like, that is not a good method of reasoning, in my opinion. So I think there's a lot of reasons that I would say very confidently, dude, I am not going to just say, yeah, I believe that because it's conservative. And that's why. No, dude, it's because it's faithful to scripture. It's because it's applicable. It's because it's reasonable. It's because it's compassionate and follows the golden rule, and it exemplifies the greatest commandment to love God and neighbor with all of our hearts. So, or like God with all our hearts and ourselves, and neighbor as ourselves. Anyway, that's what I
isn't there like a scripture about, like a person showing their stripes, like let a Christians, I don't know, like you're their religious prone, like there's something about how you will know if somebody is a Christian.
Oh, by their love. Yeah. You will know we are Christians by our love. I probably should know that. People are going to be like,
well, I wasn't speaking Christianese enough, but because I was gonna read this. So I know we
looking it up. Oh yeah, 13 John 13:35. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you have love for one another. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. I was gonna say, so I know we've talked, and then this will be the last thing, but we've talked before about if there was sort of a scripture that would sort of define our show, and I'm gonna post it in here, just for you all to see. Let me see if this works.
That's awesome.
So I would say if there's one piece of scripture that best defines like how we at least hope to run the show, it's this, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, rather in humility value others above yourself, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others, and in a relationship with one another have the same mindset as Jesus. And so with that, I would say if you ever feel that we're not upholding or living up to those ideals, like that's a conversation.
Yeah, in this very podcast. if anything we said about Charlie, you're like, we don't mean any disrespect to that man or his family. I can speak for both of us with that. So,
well, we didn't get to K-pop tonight.
no K-pop.
No K-pop.
Maybe next time.
Although I did just take this quiz recently to let me know which Saja boy I am.
Which one are you? The one with the abs?
Yeah, it was that one. Soda Pop.
By the way, that's a very inappropriate song. You don't want to sing that song at a karaoke with like someone you know. That would be super awkward.
Really?
Just read the lyrics, dude. Anyway, maybe I just maybe who knows if anyone's still on live. If we have an audience or not, we could cut this off the when we post it.
Yeah. All right. Well, well, thank you to everybody out there that has supported.
Oh, no, did I just do a weird sign, dude? Like
you did. That was total.
Dude, it's gonna be taken. It's gonna go viral. Satanic woke pastor.
No, if somebody's smart, they turn into a GIF. But
right.
So yeah, just thank you if you're watching this. We really, really appreciate it. Josh and I don't do this to become famous or anything. We just hope it's a service. If it resonates with you, great. Tell your friends. That's actually how
that'd be great.
The show has grown. We don't do any advertising. So the size of the show is the size of the show. And we couldn't do it without you. So, and thank you, Sandra. Sandra's awesome. By the way.
Thank you. You're awesome. I found all those reports, by the way. We can put them in the notes.
Okay, good. Yeah, those reports. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And as always, keep your conversations not